Let's suppose you and your 7 friends reunite at a remote lodge, 1 year after a tragic accident that claimed 2 of your friends. The night begins as a fun getaway, but quickly turns into a nightmare. A creepy masked killer starts stalking you and your friends. You all begin to experience strange events, and soon find yourselves hunted by a supernatural creature called the Wendigo humans who've transformed through cannibalism. Now, it's like a twisted game. Whoever survives the night wins. One by one, your friends start getting killed. So the question is, what would you do? Well, fellas, we're talking about the movie Until Dawn, and today we're breaking it down to see what really goes down. The movie kicks off with a woman running for her life, frantically scrambling through a dark tunnel, clearly trying to escape something or someone. She makes it to a trap door in the ground and starts to crawl up, hoping for freedom. But then, out of nowhere, a huge man appears and attacks her. She screams in terror, pleading, "I don't want this to happen to me again," before everything fades to black. Right off the bat, mysterious, high-stakes suspense. The next scene abruptly shifts to Clover, our main character, embarking on a road trip with a group of friends. She's on a mission to find her missing sister, Melanie. The group consists of Max, her ex-boyfriend, because of course we need some romantic tension, 2 other girls, Nina and Megan, and Ab, Nina's boyfriend who's driving them. Love triangle? Check. The drama is inevitable. As they cruise down the road, we get some key backstory. Clover's mom passed away some time ago, and shortly after that, her sister Melanie just disappeared. No trace, no explanation. However, Melanie did send Clover a cryptic video before vanishing, and in it there's a shop named Hartley. What a coincidence, the same shop appears on their route, and Clover thinks it's the key to finding her sister. If this doesn't scream plot twist, I don't know what does. Now, let's talk about the group dynamics, because things are about to get awkward. Max still has feelings for Clover, though he's trying to play it cool. It's clear that he's hoping for a second chance. Nina is, let's just say, complicated. She's constantly changing partners every few months. She's either with a guy or a girl, but one thing stays the same: her friendship with Clover, Megan, and Max. The current boyfriend is the new guy in this mix, and honestly, it feels like he's trying a little too hard to fit in. As for Megan, she's the spiritual one. She's deep into energies, vibes, and all things psychic. You know, the type who'd tell you to manifest a good parking spot. She's the one to talk to when you're feeling out of balance, though we'll see if her good vibes are any match for the nightmare ahead. From the video, we quickly realize the woman attacked in the opening scene is none other than Melanie. This really just went from spooky to personal. Clover, determined, decides to check out the shop from the video, where she meets Hill, a quiet, mysterious shopkeeper. Hill tells her about Glory Valley, a nearby abandoned mining town where people have mysteriously disappeared. He's convinced Melanie passed through here and likely never made it out, so naturally Clover and the gang decide to go straight there. Horror movie logic at its finest, no one's questioning the sketchy shopkeeper. But wait, things are getting even weirder. As they drive toward Glory Valley, the rain starts pouring down intensely, like the sky's mad at them. But then, the rain suddenly stops, just on one stretch of road. Everything around them is drenched, but here, dry as a bone. Nature's playing tricks now, huh? They arrive at an empty visitor center that seems frozen in time. The calendar on the wall says it's Saturday, October 24th, 1998, a full 20 years in the past. And there's an hourglass. Its sand almost gone, like it's counting down to something. You can feel the tension building, as if something is about to break loose. When night falls, Nina signs the guest register, and that's when the real horror begins. So Nina signs the guest register because, sure, let's leave a paper trail in a clearly haunted building. And apparently, that means she's staying. Meanwhile, Ab stumbles upon a missing person's board, and guess who's on it? Yep, Melanie. Her photo is right there, staring back at them like a giant red flag. But wait, it gets better or worse, because Melanie's name is also written in the guest register. Not just once, multiple times. Like, she's been checking in and out of this place like it's a creepy Airbnb. Clover, sensing something off in the woods, decides to wander off alone to investigate, because nothing says I want to survive like isolating yourself in a horror movie. Thankfully, Max brings her back before she gets herself killed. When she learns about Melanie's photo and her repeated entries in the register, she's understandably shaken. But then her eyes land on that creepy hourglass again, and surprise, it's moving. It's been flipped, but here's the kicker. No one in the group touched it. As if things couldn't get weirder, someone outside starts Ab's car and drives it off into the forest. Do they follow it? Nope, because clearly whoever took the car might be dangerous. And this group, despite being on a search mission, draws the line at chasing moving vehicles. At this point, maybe just call the police? Oh wait, horror movie logic doesn't allow that. At this point, paranoia is setting in. Clover, Max, and Megan head down to the basement, which has windows. Yes, windows in a basement. Because why not? Just add that to the list of this place is clearly cursed. And then boom, out of nowhere, a huge masked man with an axe crashes in like it's his turn in a slasher movie. He brutally kills Ab first, then takes down Nina. Megan and Max try to fight, but both are killed too. Clover somehow manages to escape, only to be caught and finished off as well. Honestly, they're dropping like flies. Maybe try not splitting up next time? But plot twist. The hourglass, which apparently has a built-in horror reset button, flips itself again thanks to some kind of mechanical system. And just like that, all 5 of them are alive again, waking up at the exact moment when the hourglass first started, like the world's worst time loop vacation. Yes, friends, here's the big reveal. It's all a time loop, but don't worry, we'll unpack that juicy bit at the end of the video. For now, just know that all 5 of them are in full panic mode. Why? Because they clearly remember dying the night before. And yet, here they are, alive and back at the same creepy visitor center like nothing happened. Because apparently death is just a suggestion in this place. But the real kicker? The missing persons board has now been updated with their photos. Yep, all 5 of them. Imagine checking into a place and finding yourself on the people who disappeared here board. Great hospitality. Understandably, they all start thinking about running for it. Before they can, Megan suddenly gets possessed. The lights flicker and go out classic horror mood. The group follows her as she moves toward the missing board, staring at it like it's giving her life advice. In her possessed state, Megan explains that all the people whose photos are on the board ended up trapped in this time loop, becoming a permanent part of this cursed place. Then boom, Megan collapses. Everyone panics and bolts the doors shut from the inside. Like that's gonna stop whatever demonic force is toying with them. But of course, Clover hears a voice calling her from outside. And despite the others yelling not to go, because horror protagonists love ignoring the most obvious red flags, she heads out anyway. Outside, she sees a rundown house that definitely wasn't there before. And just as she's processing that, an invisible force yanks her straight into it. Max and Nina both want to go after her, but Ab, not so much. Because when you're the new guy in the group with no emotional attachment, self-preservation is a priority. Meanwhile, inside the creepy crumbling house, Clover stumbles upon all kinds of disturbing stuff. Creepy clown masks and mannequins that look like they were borrowed from a haunted circus clearance sale. Honestly, interior decorating, 0 out of 10. Then out comes a twisted old woman who attacks Clover and gives her an ultimatum. Survive the night or become part of the eternal nightmare. Casual. She then turns into a full-on skeleton because, sure, why not? And just like that, Clover gets possessed. At the same time, Max arrives at the ruined house looking for her. Meanwhile, Ab, clearly done with the group dynamic, convinces Nina to ditch the rescue mission and escape with him by car. Spoiler alert, in horror films, the let's just drive away plan never works. As Ab and Nina try to make a run for it, they suddenly come face to face with a giant, hideous joint monster blocking their way. So naturally, they have to turn back. But their detour doesn't save them because a masked man shows up and brutally kills both Ab and Nina. Yep, plot twist. You can't outrun death in a loop, and definitely not with a literal monster in the road. Meanwhile, Max is still out there searching for Clover, only to be attacked by a now possessed Clover wearing a creepy mask. And then, in a full circle moment of poetic horror, Max gets run over by Abe's car. Honestly, the chaos has gone full GTA mode at this point. So yes, once again, the entire group is finished. And let me pause here to say I'm using words like finished and ended because YouTube has rules and we're trying to keep this recap monetized. You get the idea. Anyway, a flashback takes us to the moment when Max entered the old house in search of Clover. There, he found disturbing sketches of monstrous figures, an old news broadcast about a mining disaster, and you guessed it, a clown doll. Because what's a horror movie without a completely unnecessary clown for good measure? Don't worry, this will all make sense soon. Here's your cleaned up version with all star symbols removed, keeping everything else, including the brackets, unchanged. The hourglass flips again, the night resets, and the group, yep, alive again. This time though, they try something new. Everyone locks themselves in a bathroom. Finally a smart move. Hide in the one room with a lock and no windows. They drink some tap water, thinking they're safe, but Megan is suspicious. She remembers there was no water earlier. Red flag, right? Megan also starts noticing physical changes. Hair falling out, strange scars, even weird teeth. Honestly, it's like they're going through supernatural puberty after every death. Before they can process anything, Ab suddenly starts coughing and explodes. Literally. One by one, the rest begin bursting too. Turns out the water was tainted with something horrific that made their bodies react this way. Reminder, always boil your water, even in ghost towns. Clover is the last to survive this round, and that's when Hill reappears. The same guy from the gas station shop. He calmly tells Clover she almost made it to the end of the night, and that if she wants to escape, she can't just sit around. Thanks, Hill. Great advice. Maybe share that before everyone explodes next time. Then Clover ends too, and once again the hourglass turns. Reset. This time the group ditches the panic and starts investigating the house for answers. They find multiple IDs belonging to Hill, revealing that he was actually a doctor. Clearly he's mixed up in all of this. Abe also discovers an old newspaper dated 20 years back, reporting a mining disaster in Glory Valley. During a deep dig, the entire town collapsed, killing over 1,100 people. The survivors suffered immense trauma, and a therapist, Dr. Hill, was called in to treat them. Yep, same guy. That's also when it hits them. This whole area, all the houses, they're missing because they've literally sunk underground. That's why only the basement windows are visible, because the rest of the structures fell into the earth. And here we were thinking the architecture was just avant-garde. Eventually, the group stumbles across a sealed door in the basement. But what's on the other side? Pitch darkness. So dark that no one dares to step in, comment, and honestly, can you blame them? After the week they've had, I wouldn't go in either. Then Max stumbles upon a VHS tape. Yes, those ancient rectangles that existed before Netflix, and inside it, he finally finds the answers we've all been waiting for. In this tape, Hill explains everything. Instead of offering therapy to the traumatized survivors of the mining disaster like a normal, licensed professional, he decided to run experiments on them, because apparently when life gives you trauma, Hill makes horror stew. These poor patients suffered from severe muscle atrophy, relentless hunger, and most disturbingly, overwhelming fear. And guess what? That fear was exactly what Hill was counting on. It turns out the emotional trauma from the mining accident didn't just stay with the original victims, it affected anyone who came to the area. The fear started morphing people, turning them into monstrous creatures over time. Eventually, these fear-mutated humans transformed into beings known as Wendigos. And the twisted rule of this place? If someone dies and resurrects here 13 times, they become a Wendigo. Yep, it's basically a haunted punch card. 13 punches and you get a free monster transformation. Max realizes this horrible truth when he sees that all the names in the guest register appear exactly 13 times. That's the countdown. If you don't escape before that, you're stuck here forever. Mask and claws included. Suddenly that spa weekend doesn't seem so bad, does it? And now all the previous clues, the creepy clown images, the monstrous doodles, the mining news on that TV all point to one thing: Hill's monstrous psychological experiment. Naturally, the gang is freaked out, and they confront Hill well, kind of. Clover demands to meet him face to face. Hill replies that he's open to a little chit-chat, but only if Clover comes alone. Oh, and she has to be willing to sacrifice herself to save the others. Casual, right? Just your typical small talk condition. Clover seems willing to do it. Meanwhile, Ab, being the team player, he always isn't fully supports the idea. Of course he does. Anything to save his own skin. Max, on the other hand, isn't so sure. He's close to Clover and not ready to lose her, even if it might save them. Still, Clover heads into the woods solo, because that always ends well. She's quickly caught in a bear trap and dragged deeper into the nightmare. Back at the visitor center, everyone's furious with Ab for being selfish and basically volunteering Clover as tribute. Nina, especially angry, attacks Ab. Megan and Max take off to find Clover. You know what's coming, right? Yep, more death. death. Megan falls into a trap and crashes through a glass door. Then the masked man comes back and eliminates both Nina and Ab like it's just another Tuesday. Max finds Clover, and together they decide to start one last loop to try and save their friends. Max willingly sacrifices himself to trigger the reset, stepping directly in front of a Wendigo. Give the guy credit, he's gone full hero mode. So the loop starts again. They're all alive, but this time, this is the 13th loop, the final one. Now you may be wondering, how do they know this is the last one? Simple. They finally notice the guest register where Nina's name appears 13 times, meaning this cursed game has already repeated itself 12 times, and they're down to their final chance before full Wendigo transformation kicks in. And no, there's no reset button or DLC that's going to save them now. By now, the physical changes in Abe and the rest had become pretty evident. Scars, deformities, and all kinds of delightful body horror. Because if dying 12 times doesn't change you, what will? Abe's phone contained numerous recordings showing how they had gone through different loops, providing visual proof of just how many times they died and come back like horror-themed Groundhog Day. Interestingly, outside the house, they now began seeing more houses previously hidden suddenly visible. Great, nothing says you're trapped in psychological hell like surprise real estate. But wait, Megan was missing. Abe, ever the master of deductive logic, suggested that maybe Megan had survived. A video on one of their phones confirmed this. Megan had entered the dark basement tunnel behind Hill's office, the one no one wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole. So naturally, all four of them decided to follow Megan's path straight into the abyss. The dark tunnels were crawling with Wendigos, of course, because why wouldn't they be? No haunted forest, underground maze, or time loop is complete without an angry cryptid. As the group advanced, masked figures suddenly attacked them because this movie really likes to throw in new enemies just when you think you're safe. During the chaos, Clover gets separated. She then stumbles upon her sister Melanie, but there's a twist. Melanie is now a Wendigo. Clover, heartbroken but desperate, is forced to kill her to survive. Nothing like a little sisterly homicide to spice up your final loop. Meanwhile, Dan Clover finds Megan. Finally, she's trapped in a room where a chained Wendigo is slowly freeing itself and getting ready for snack time. On the other side, Abe, Nina, and Max are still battling monsters in what's basically the world's worst team building exercise. Clover rushes into Hill's office where the man himself finally appears. Smug and monologuing like every great villain, he reveals that these horrifying experiments weren't just about monsters, they were about trauma. The creatures, Hill explains, are not just physical threats, but psychological manifestations of Clover's depression and fear. Yes, these monsters are real, but they're fueled by internal anguish. So basically therapy, but make it lethal. We learn that Clover had attempted self-harm in the past, and all of this, the Wendigos, the time loops, the nightmares, is a twisted manifestation of that pain. Hill, still ranting like a TED Talk speaker from hell, doesn't notice that Clover has spotted poisonous water dripping from a pipe, the same stuff that made them explode earlier. Quietly, Clover drops it into Hill's teacup like a final mic drop, because nothing says poetic justice like serving your enemy a piping hot cup of karma. As Hill continues his speech, he takes a sip, and well, let's just say he cracks up in the most literal way. With Hill now dead, Clover grabs the keys and frees Megan. The rest of the group destroys the masked figure's domain, and together they sprint through the tunnels. Wendigos chase them, but they reach the exit. Yes, the same place where Melanie had appeared in the opening scene. The hourglass runs out, the sun rises, and for the first time, they realize they've broken the time loop. At long last, they're free. The group celebrates and drives away from the cursed place, finally out of the nightmare. Cue the cliche but well earned, let's never talk about this again moment. In the final scene, we return to that eerie room filled with surrealist screens all showing the same cursed location, hinting that maybe, just maybe, the loop is still watching. Then suddenly the rainfall shifts into snowfall and a lone car pulls up to the scene. The movie ends right there, because why not throw in a cryptic weather change and a mysterious car just to mess with your brain one last time? So friends, that was the story of Until Dawn, a film that begins with confusion and ends with, well, slightly more sophisticated confusion. So there you have it, friends. My full explanation of the film. If I missed something, feel free to drop a comment. And if you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe. We've got plenty more content coming your way. Grind never stops.